Okay, welcome to this deep dive. We're about to unpack some uh, really fascinating source material you've shared.
Yeah, we're taking a serious look at how online identity and, well, deception are changing.
Definitely. We've moved way beyond that old New Yorker cartoon line, on the internet, nobody knows you're a dog.
Right. Today, it's much more complex. This source we're looking at actually calls it a grand industrial complex of digital deception.
The grand industrial complex. Okay.
And yeah, our deep dive today is really centered around this sharp article from the Economic Times.
Okay.
It basically lays out how AI is turning online deception into like a professional industry.
An industry. Wow.
Yeah, fueled by sophisticated bot networks.
Right.
And crucially, what that means for businesses, for information, and, well, for you navigating the online world.
Exactly. And the article, it doesn't just outline the problem, does it? It also hints at a solution.
It does. It points towards a potential solution, one that's kind of uniquely rooted in India's digital infrastructure.
Interesting. Okay, so our mission today seems clear. We want to really pull out the core insights from this piece, understand how this digital deception thing actually works today, what its real impact is.
And why it matters. Why understanding it is so essential right now.
Right. Okay, let's dive straight into the problem then. You mentioned that iconic 1993 New Yorker cartoon.
Yeah, the dog at the computer.
At the time, it was just this witty take on online anonymity.
And now, 30 years on, the article argues that wit has mutated into something more insidious.
More insidious.
Yeah, it even says the cartoon's value has gone up because it turned out to be so prophetic. Because today, identity, opinions, even emotions, they aren't just hidden online.
They can be manufactured.
And manufactured, manipulated, and monetized, and at a huge scale.
Manufactured and monetized. Yeah, that definitely sounds like an industrial complex. The source says AI isn't just background noise anymore.
Not at all. It's a significant force. The article calls it a geopolitical and corporate threat.
Geopolitical, even.
Absolutely. AI is creating these vast networks of virtual personas. And we're not just talking about simple scripts liking a few posts.
Yeah.
No, the article says they mirror human behavior with accuracy. These AI personas are fabricating entire digital lives.
Entire lives. Like what?
Posting photos, building friend networks, jumping into debates online, giving detailed endorsements for products or ideas, the works.
So they're designed to look completely real, with histories, connections, opinions.
Exactly. Incredibly sophisticated.
And you said industrial complex, so this isn't just some lone coder or something.
Oh, far from it. The article really emphasizes these are professional outfits.
Professional outfits.
Employing thousands of people, their main job. Managing millions of fake accounts.
Millions.
Millions. And these accounts aren't just static shells. They have curated timelines, believable comment histories, even AI-generated profile pictures to look totally legit.
That scale and that level of organization is just, wow. It really is like an industry built on fakeness. And the immediate result of all this, the article calls it a crisis of credibility, right?
Precisely. Take TikTok, for example, which the article highlights. Billions of users. Its algorithm is built to boost virality, right?
Yeah, amplify whatever gets engagement.
Exactly, regardless of where it comes from. So the article says it becomes an ideal conduit for bot-driven disinformation.
Because if popularity can be faked so easily by bots,
Then how can you trust what's trending? Or what opinions seem popular? Or even which products people actually like?
right, it undermines everything. Okay, so that's the scale of the problem, industrialized deception, credibility crisis. But the article goes deeper, doesn't it, into the specific vulnerabilities for businesses.
It does. It identifies 4 strategic inflection points.
Yeah.
Basically, ways this creates unprecedented vulnerabilities for companies, particularly India Inc.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first point is manipulable info markets.
Okay.
Think about how companies normally track, say, social media sentiment to see how their brand is doing.
Standard practice.
Well, when bots can just flood the system with fake positive or negative comments, those traditional indicators become, well, useless, completely unreliable.
Like that example in the article, the FMCG brand.
Exactly. They see a sudden drop in sentiment, panic, spend a fortune on a crisis PR campaign.
Only to find out later.
It was just a targeted, bot-driven smear attack.
Wow. And the cost involved.
That's the killer point.
Yeah.
The article calls the cost structure asymmetric. It costs peanuts, relatively speaking, to contract a for-rent bot attack service.
How little?
They mention vendors offering campaigns for as little as Rs 15,000.
15,000 rupees.
Yeah. But the cost to defend against that, you need cybersecurity audits, reputation management firms, legal action that can run into crores.
Crores. So it's vastly cheaper to attack than defend.
Dramatically cheaper. That imbalance is huge.
Okay, that's a massive vulnerability. What's the second strategic point?
That one is conflicting incentives.
Mm-hmm.
And this one points the finger squarely at the platforms themselves.
The social media companies.
Mm-hmm. Their whole business model often relies on maximizing engagement metrics, clicks, shares, likes, time spent on the site.
Right. More engagement means more ad revenue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the article argues because their priority is engagement, not necessarily authenticity, they cannot be trusted as objective sources of market information.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, their systems can sometimes, maybe inadvertently, maybe not, end up rewarding bot activity because, hey, it boosts those engagement numbers.
So the platform design itself, driven by the business model, actually makes them part of the problem.
Essentially, yes. That seems to be the argument. Which leads nicely into the third point the article raises about losing control, disappearing control.
Disappearing control over what?
Over your own narrative, your image, even who's claiming to be you online.
Impersonation.
Exactly. The examples are pretty stark.
Yeah.
It mentions Martin Wolf from the Financial Times being impersonated online.
Yeah.
Annoying, but maybe common for public figures. But more worrying, the RBI recently flagged over 600 fake finance apps, many of them using these AI personas to run really sophisticated scams.
So real financial harm caused by fake digital identities.
Directly, yeah.
Okay. And the fourth point, this sounds like the really damaging one for a company, reputational collapse.
This is where, as the article puts it, the rubber meets the road for businesses, especially India Inc.
Okay.
It gives a specific, pretty scary case study. A leading tech firm got hit hard. How? An AI-generated deepfake video.
A deep fake? Of who?
It was falsely attributed to its HR head, and then this video was amplified by bots.
And what did the fake video show?
It showed the fake HR head basically denigrating job applicants, saying awful things.
Oh, no.
And even though the company put out rebuttals really quickly, tried to correct the record,
The damage is already done.
completely. The article lists the severe consequences. Massive reputational damage, which is hard to claw back from, investor panic, a drop in the share price, even major clients demanding clarifications before they'd continue doing business.
Wow.
It just shows how fast this industrial-scale digital deception can jump out of the screen and cause serious real-world harm, financial, operational, everything.
Okay, so the scale and impact are genuinely terrifying. What does the article suggest we can actually do about it? I mean, governments are reacting, right? The EU's Digital Services Act.
Yeah, governments globally are starting to notice. The article acknowledges India's proposed Digital India Act as a step towards tackling digital harms.
Right.
But the implication is maybe it doesn't fully comprehend the menace of industrialized artificial sentiment yet. Like, current regulations might be slightly behind the curve on this very specific AI-driven industrial-scale problem.
So it needs more than just incremental policy changes.
The article seems to argue for something more fundamental, a fundamental restructuring of how organizations even gather and validate market intelligence. Meaning relying on the existing big platforms as your main objective source of information, that's becoming impossible. They will be viewed as compromised sources.
Compromised by all these bots and fake sentiment.
Exactly. Which brings us to the key solution put forward in the piece.
Which is?
Universal digital identity verification.
Okay, that sounds big.
It is big, but the article makes a really interesting case that India specifically is uniquely positioned to pioneer something like this.
Why India?
Because of Aadhaar. That foundational digital identity system already exists at scale.
Ah, right. So leveraging Aadhaar. But people worry about privacy with Aadhaar linking.
Definitely. And the article anticipates that. The idea isn't presented as like linking your Twitter handle directly to your Aadhaar number for the world to see.
No, right.
No, it suggests more of a parallel framework, maybe a tiered verification system.
Tiered verification? How would that work?
So the platform could cryptographically verify that you are, in fact, a real human being, probably linked back to something like Aadhaar on the back end.
But without revealing your actual identity publicly?
Exactly. Unless there's a clear legal warrant or reason, the core idea articulated is that anonymity must coexist with accountability.
Anonymity and accountability. That's the tricky balance.
It is. But it's about proving you're real without necessarily having to prove who you are in every single interaction, unless absolutely necessary.
And are there examples of this kind of thinking already happening?
The article mentions startups exploring this space,
Like
an e-commerce platform. Maybe ensuring product reviews only come from accounts verified as linked to a real person via Aadhaar. Suddenly, those reviews have genuine weight.
you could trust them more.
Right. Or imagine a fintech company measuring market sentiment. Instead of scraping, say, generic X hashtags full of bots,
They get data from where?
from authenticated communities where they know the participants have been verified as real individuals.
Okay, I see. So it's not necessarily the scary Orwellian vision.
The article frames them as pragmatic responses. Responses basically forced by this crisis of authenticity we're facing.
And the parallel they draw, UPI.
Yeah, that's powerful. India's UPI payment system. The article uses it as proof that building scalable, secure, and citizen-centric infrastructure is achievable in India.
The argument being, if we manage that for payments.
Why couldn't we apply similar principles to tackle the authenticity crisis in other critical digital spaces? It's a strong point.
It is. The urgency in the piece is really palpable, isn't it?
Absolutely. It warns that just ignoring this rise of artificial sentiment will only invite chaos into our decision-making frameworks. The call to action for India Inc., for businesses, is blunt. The time to act is not tomorrow or next quarter, it is now.
Because ultimately,
As the article concludes, only authenticity will endure.
and that really does bring it back to you, the listener, doesn't it? This whole grand industrial complex, it's not some abstract issue happening elsewhere.
No, it's directly impacting the information you consume every single day. The opinions that seem to dominate online discussions, your basic ability to trust what you see and read.
It really makes you pause and think. If authenticity is the only thing that's going to last in this incredibly noisy, manipulated digital world, how do we as individuals actually navigate that?
Yeah, how do we find that balance between wanting privacy, wanting anonymity sometimes?
But also desperately needing reliable information and needing accountability when things go wrong.
What is the role of the platforms in fixing this? What about governments? And what responsibility falls back on us, the users?
To demand something better, to help
Yeah.
build a digital space where truth, actually has a fighting chance.
That's definitely something to ponder.